Man, not 50%, 105%. Real man. And him and Mr. Borglum got along good, and Mr. Borglum didn't get along with everybody. Sometimes he'd fire you one day, and 2 days later he'd hire you back. And after I got to be foreman, I done all the hiring, and I know he fired a lot of the men that I hired. But anyway, I got along good with him under 10 years of supervision. And of course, when he passed away, why, Lincoln took it over. His dad was a genius, and his dad would say to me, he said, we'd stand on the platform, and we'd look up at the faces, and he says, "What do you see up there, George?" I said, "I see part of Washington's face." "Oh," he said, "can't you see Jefferson and Lincoln and Roosevelt?" "No," I said, "I can't." He said, "I can." But anyway, we put Jefferson on the right side of Washington. And we worked there for quite a while and got the rough work done. And one day he come to me and he said, "George, no more work on Jefferson. No more work. Put the men on the other side." So we took all the men off, and so I didn't want to say something because I knew he was upset. And he said, "George," he said, "we run into a crevice there." And he said, "Water would run in there and it'll freeze. And I wouldn't want to come up here some morning and find Jefferson's nose down in the muck pile." So we put Jefferson on the other side, and that's where I worked on the eye. It was 11 feet across, just a blank piece of rock. I worked there 2 years on it, and I done the finishing work. And of course, I worked on the other faces too, but Jefferson was kind of my favorite, you know, because I would talk to Jefferson when I was working, you know. And I think the good Lord made this whole project of these 4 great presidents. I think the Lord made it especially for me. And I wonder now when I look up at it and say, "George, how could you work up there and not make a mistake?" There's no mistakes made up there, and it looks so real. And that's what the tourist says, that they can't fathom it out how that looks so real, and such gigantic pieces of the faces, you know. They could draw it on a piece of paper, but when you carve it out of rock, that's a different thing. And then I had a chance to work with Corsaw. I worked with him right beside him, and of course him and Mr. Borglum didn't get along, and Corsaw was a fine sculptor, and he got mad at, Borglum got mad at him and fired him. And Corsaw, he just grinned and he said, "Well, that was fine." He said, "I'm going down here and buy a mountain for myself." And that's exactly what he did. He went down there and he worked there on this one mountain a little while, and Mr. Corsaw, or the government come along and said, "That mountain you got is not too good a granite, and can we trade mountains with you?" And he said, "Yes." So they traded. That's the one he's got now. And so then he passed away. He wanted me to go to work there, but I didn't want to carve anymore. And his family is completing it, and it's going to be a great thing for the Indians. And I hope it's a success. And they've done more in the last year than they've done in the 10 years that I know it. And Mrs. Corsaw, she was up to the memorial, and she's a good friend of mine, and she's a carver too. She says, "George, you come over to Crazy Horse, and I want to see you." And she says, "I'll take you personally, myself, up on top of the Chief Crazy Horse."
I'm going to go there today on this tour.
Yeah, you going there today?
Yes, yes.
You tell her you know George.
I will.
Yeah.
And George, I want to thank you for such a very special moment for me and for my family in having this, and having you talk about my father and our father, and about Mr. Borglum and yourself. And I tell you, I can't thank you enough. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, and God bless you.
Well, you know, Mr. Bianco was like a brother to me. He was a close friend, and we were real close. We were real close, and he was not that close to everybody. He didn't mix with all of them. There was only a couple of real carvers up there, and he was number one. He was number one, not number 2. He was one of the best carvers that Mount Rushmore ever had a tool put into the rock.
Thank you, sir. God bless.